Now, you might imagine your retirement years would be an opportunity to take the pressure off and stop worrying about things like paying the rent. But for a growing number of Australians, paying rent is a burden that follows them well into retirement.
If you got a house, you're paying rent, then the minute you have to retire, that's when you can't afford to pay your rent.
67-year-old Deborah Basham retired from her job as a cleaner a year ago. Since then, paying her rent has been a constant struggle.
It's very difficult renting on the pension. You don't have the money. Once you pay your rent and everything out, you've got no money left to pay your bills. So therefore your bills get behind and you just struggle.
Money so tight, she sometimes goes without food in order to pay rent and bills.
I've got animals, I feed them first, and if I've got nothing left, then I go without. If I've got a slice of bread, I'll just have a slice of bread for tea. I've been even that low that I haven't even had a slice of bread.
Deborah isn't alone. A new report from the Grattan Institute revealing 2/3 of the more than 200,000 retired households who rent in Australia are living in poverty, an increasing number now at risk of homelessness.
Historically, most Australians have owned their own home in retirement, but fewer Australians are owning their own home as housing has become more expensive. At the same time, social housing stock hasn't kept pace with broader population growth, so there's just fewer social homes available for those that find themselves in hard times.
Those stats are even worse when it comes to women. Nearly 80% of those who are single, retired and renting live below the poverty line.
They don't accumulate the superannuation that men do due to raising children, and they often don't have the savings that, say, men have.
Now, there are calls for a short-term fix to lift older renters out of poverty. The Grattan Institute pushing for the government to raise rent assistance by 50% for singles and 40% for couples.
What that would mean is that retirees would be able to afford a pretty basic home in a major Australian city and also afford other essentials that they need in life.
Arguing if nothing is done, the future looks bleak for retirees like Deborah.
It's affected me really bad, just day-to-day worry. Where I'm going to end up, if I'm going to end up in a car, you know, homeless. You worry every day.
Well, Cara Kennedy is one such struggling renter. She joins us now along with her friend Poppy. Cara, for those who haven't experienced this, can you just describe what it all feels like?
It's very daunting. It doesn't help mental health, which has never ever been as bad as what it is for me now. I just say, you know, I never ever thought this would happen to me, let alone anybody else, but it's affecting a lot of people and a lot of women over the age of 50. You know, being a woman, you are robbing Peter to pay Paul to buy, you know, products that women need. It's depressing. It's depressing. It's put me in a bad place a lot of times, yeah.
I imagine for someone in your situation, when you go to the supermarket, there's a really clear list in your head of what you can buy and what you can't. What are the things you have to walk past that you'd like to be able to buy at the supermarket?
Being diabetic, I'm grappling to buy the food that I'm supposed to eat, apart from, you know, the food that may be a little bit cheaper, but I have to walk past. I buy the bottom of the barrel food virtually to keep it going, you know, and I've recently been in hospital because of my diabetes, lack of control because I just can't eat properly. I don't go out. I don't do anything really. So, yeah, it's the first time in 12 years that I've actually celebrated Christmas with a friend and her family, who I only met recently, due to her coming to my home and finding me on the bathroom floor, half in a coma, because I hadn't eaten that day. So, yeah, it's horrible.
Cara, there's a push for the government to increase rent assistance payments. What would you like to say to them?
Please help us. We're dying, you know. There's only to say, if my rent goes up again, I will be homeless.
Cara, you've worked so hard all your
Yeah.
life. You've paid your taxes. Are you angry at the way retirees are being treated in this country?
100%. Yeah. Yeah, I am. I'm so angry that it makes it really emotional for me because I beat myself up thinking, okay, I've got a home at the moment, but then I think of others that haven't got a home at the moment at all, you know, or money for food or things. You just don't have any to scratch yourself left over.
Cara, we can hear how difficult it has been to share your story, but we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
You'd like to think that in Australia we could do a bit better than this.
Yeah.
You know, statistically, this is not an isolated case. You don't often hear a voice like Cara's on the television. And that's part of the story. It's part of why we're kind of forgetting about this as an issue. The precariousness is so difficult for these people. And, you know, I think as a society, maybe we can do a bit better.
Absolutely.